On to Bill McDade. I'm sure nobody here in this audience knows who Bill McDade is. He's been a member of Rotary since, I think, 1978. And I thought of just getting up here and saying Bill needs no introduction and sitting down. But once you have a microphone in front of you, it's hard to give it up. I could fill Bill's allotted time with all of the information that I have about him, and he's had a fascinating life. But that, of course, is not something that I'm allowed to do. So I just thought I would give you a few tidbits. Bill has all of the usual academic requisites that you heard recited about me in order to become a physician and an orthopedic surgeon, so I'm not going to bother with that. He is a sort of a true blue San Diego, born and raised here, went to San Diego High, and played golf while in high school, and at one time had a handicap in the 1s and 2s, of which I'm very envious. He didn't stay in San Diego for his undergraduate and graduate training, but we'll give him a little slack there because he went to Stanford, you know. San Diego State, Stanford, you know, which one am I going to go to? I guess he chose right. He is a charter and founding member of the Junior Golf Association, along with such luminaries as Billy Casper, Gene Littler, and Mickey Wright. For you non-golfers, these are the gods of golf. That's pretty heady company. He and his wife, Carol, of 56 years. Hello, Carol. Glad to see you here. For 15 years, have taken in foster children, over 50 of them, infants. I think that's a remarkable achievement. Bill has volunteered multiple times to perform surgery in other countries, mostly with the MOST team, and as you'll probably be hearing, to Malawi, where those stamps came from. And Bill is really a truly good family man and a very proud parent. He told me a little anecdote that I'm going to relate to you about his daughter, Karen. Sorry, Karen, I'm going to embarrass you. When Karen graduated from the University of Washington, she came back to San Diego and got a job, and then told her dad to sit down because she was going to tell him something, and that something was that she was going to go to Utah to become a ski instructor. But he didn't have to worry about supporting her because she was going to wait tables. As the father of a daughter, I know how fear was being perceived by Bill. But then Karen went on a MOST trip with Bill and was exposed to some medicine and decided to go back to school and become a nurse, which she did at night school in Utah. And then when she got her degree in nursing, she went on to get a job at Rady Children's Hospital. And since then, she has gotten her master's and is now a nurse practitioner. And is Dad ever proud about Karen? Bill is going to tell us about his Rotary journey, so I don't need to give any of his accomplishments in Rotary. I just want you to welcome Bill, Club 33's past president, and District 5340's past district governor, and listen to him tell us his story.
Thank you. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Larry Coots and Nelson Photo, the professional staff who have been such a help to me over these last years. Remember their new location, Midway Drive. And the parking is great. I had just flown almost halfway around the world to lend a hand in an African hospital as a Rotary volunteer. I had made rounds on all of the orthopedic patients. And I was sitting on a wall, resting my tired legs, when a young man said, "Boss man, you have not seen the patients that are under the beds on the floor." What I was about to see, what I was about to experience in the coming years, I could never have believed. But let's backtrack a little bit. 20 years, I found myself the senior partner of San Diego's busiest orthopedic office, located right across the street from where I was born some 83 years ago. And I loved my profession. And then one day, my life, it was turned upside down. I began to limp, difficulty standing at the operating table, and most worrisome, my golf handicap was rising at an alarming rate. My legs would no longer support my golf swing. Something was wrong, in fact, terribly wrong. And after seeing the best in the West, I was referred east to the Mayo Clinic. The diagnosis, an extremely rare muscle disease. In fact, it is the adult form of muscular dystrophy, a disease that I thought only occurred in children. Why me, I asked myself. For the age-old question of why do bad things happen to good people? It would be many years, but I would eventually find my answer to that question, and the answer would come from an organization that we all know as Rotary, and from a dose of wisdom from my doctor at the Mayo Clinic. On a subsequent visit to the Mayo Clinic, I was referred to the mental health department because I had started to become depressed, and my depression was deepening. It became a very dark and difficult time in my life. And what I wasn't smart enough to understand is that I had lost purpose, true purpose in my life. And as the years unfolded, I came to realize what an important ingredient purpose is for leading a happy and fulfilling life. My psychiatrist listened to my tale of woe, and when we were done, he just looked at me and he shook his head and he said, "Doctor, I am sorry, but I just don't have a pill for your depression." He said, "I've got a thought, a good thought. Why don't you start to focus on taking care of those that are less fortunate than yourself?" Made sense. But I was a slow learner, and it took quite a while from that thought to get from my head to my heart. And I returned home and continued to host pity parties for myself in San Diego. And one day I was sitting all alone, figuratively speaking, in a darkened room. Well, I heard a little whisper. It said, "Bill, you can lend a hand." To lend a hand. Where had I heard that word? And then as if by magic, the light began to shine in that dark part of my head. And I remembered I belong to the greatest lend-a-hand organization this world has ever known. In fact, I have belonged to this very Rotary Club for some 20 years, but my membership was characterized by non-involvement, no attendance. But I decided to attend a meeting of my Rotary Club, number 33, and you greeted me. Some of you even remembered my name. But I left that meeting with a smile on my face, my first smile in quite a while. And And isn't it so that when we attend a meeting of Rotarians, it's pretty hard not to leave without a smile on your face, a feeling that you've been somewhere, done something worthwhile, worth your time. And that's exactly how I began to feel. At another Rotary meeting, I heard somebody talk about the Rotary Foundation. And before you knew it, I was on a great big airplane flying halfway around the world to the continent of Africa as a Rotary volunteer orthopedic surgeon. My life was about to change. And I was met at the airport by one of the Rotarians of the 5 Rotary clubs in the country, and he took me to my apartment. Malawi is one of the poorest countries in Africa, in fact, the entire world. It's known as the warm heart of Africa because of the friendly, welcoming nature of its people. 80% of the population lives rurally, and they live without electricity or running water. And they live in villages, small villages that are located in remote areas throughout the country. Everything is carried on the back or the head, and they work the land by hand. And periodic starvation, malaria, HIV, and a whole litany of disabilities are daily challenges. My Rotarian took me to my apartment. We stopped by the local supermarket for provisions, and then by the telephone exchange, because he knew there would be no telephone where I'd be staying. The cell phone, the computer had not yet found Malawi. As we climbed the 3 flights of stairs to my apartment, I heard a crack in one of my legs, and one of my custom-made plastic braces broke. There was no way to have such an item replaced or repaired in the third world. And I kind of wondered to myself, how does one brace support 2 legs? My apartment had an electric light bulb that worked when the electricity in the country worked. There was running water, but the only hot water I had is what I would boil on a small pan on the stove. And I think I went to bed that night thinking, what in the world is a nice guy like me doing in a place like this? And I'd find out in the morning when I was taken to that hospital. And I learned I was the boss man. Boss man is a slang expression for someone that has come from a different country, from a different culture, to support, to teach, to work. And for the next week, 5 weeks, I would be the boss man. And I also learned there were only 2 trained orthopedic surgeons for 14 million people. I would be a very busy boss man. And I would attend clinics where people had walked miles, sat for hours, only to be told, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. And I would see children with multiple disabilities that should have been operated on years before to prevent what you see. And I would take care of a parade of fractures, mostly in children. Children who had climbed tall trees to pick fruit, to eat because they were hungry. And they would risk a bad fall, a badly broken bone, just because they were hungry. And I would travel to remote villages where the people could not travel, could not walk. The only means of medical care were to visit them where they lived. And the day came for me to leave. My Rotarian friend took me to the airport. wished me well, said, "I hope you come again." And his words turned out to be prophetic, because over the following years, the boss man returned again and again and again. And I would never forget the patients that were under the bed, on the floor. I was so excited to be going home because I had virtually been out of contact with my family.